All right, everybody. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well so far today. And the Seahawks have done quite a bit in the last day or so. They've done quite a bit with their coaching staff. I didn't talk about this yesterday because the announcement came out kind of late, and we had the Geno restructure, which I thought was a little more important. But I do want to take some time to talk about the announcements the Seahawks made yesterday when it came to hiring assistants, and I want to take another bird's eye view at the coaching staff as of right now to try to get an idea of what we're putting together. So, Greg Bell has the post here. He's got the latest and greatest on Seahawks assistant coaches, and it's been filled out a pretty good amount since our last look at it. And we've got quite a few guys to go into. I'm probably not going to be able to do it all in one video, but I do want to take a look at some of the guys that we brought in so we get an idea of what we're getting into here. And I want to update the list that I have with all the coaches. So here's what Greg Bell has. McDonald, Dirty, and by the way, everyone's now telling me that it is Dirty, but everyone just wants to go with AD because Dirty sounds like you're insulting him. So AD, Grubb, Harbaugh, Brown, Bynes. First new name that we get to on this list is Rob Caprice. So Rob Caprice, defensive intern. So on the list here, I added the defensive intern role. So we're going to throw Rob Caprice onto the list here. And he is a coach with very little experience in football so far. But the experience he has is not bad. And it makes sense why he's starting out at the level of a defensive intern in the NFL, because the only experience he has, this is from the Seahawks official website, by the way, is 3 seasons as a defensive assistant on the Tennessee Volunteers. So 2021 to 2023. So looking at the Tennessee Volunteers just briefly over the last 3 years, the 2023 defense was very, very good, allowed barely over 20 points a game, 23rd in the country. So that was a really good defense, good team all around. The 2022 Volunteers defense was very good as well, 36th in the country, allowed less than 23 points a game. This was the elite Tennessee team with Hendon Hooker at quarterback. And then the first year he was there, not so good. They allowed almost 30 points a game, 90th in the country. So you can see the growth, you can see the development, and obviously Rob Caprice is not the main reason why they improved, but he was definitely part of the improvement. So that's the first guy we're adding onto this staff, just a defensive intern. Again, you don't really know what he's going to be doing. It's probably going to be a very minor role. It might be more educational for him than it even is helping the team. But I'm sure he has something to offer here, and it seems pretty reasonable to me. So that is the defensive intern hire. So going back to the list here, we have Fitzsimmons, we have Leslie Frazier, we have Zach Hill, Justin Hines, Jeff Howard, by the way. They're now listing him as a safeties coach, not a defensive back coach. So I went to the list and updated it, so now that Jeff Howard shows up as a safeties coach. Defensive backs coach, as of right now, we don't have, but Carl Scott may end up occupying the role because he's listed as both on the official website right now. So Carl Scott might be the defensive passing game coordinator and DB coach at the same time. That seems to be the likely path now, but we'll see if we hire somebody else to handle it single-handedly. And going down further, we got Scott Huff. We knew about that. Frisman Jackson, Charles London, Brendan Nugent, assistant offensive line coach. This is the next new guy on this list and somebody that we haven't really talked about yet. So Brendan Nugent, assistant offensive line coach. I did suspect we were going to have one. So the exciting thing about Brendan Nugent is that he offsets our head offensive line coach's complete lack of NFL experience, because Brendan Nugent has been in the NFL for quite some time now. He's been a coach in the NFL in some capacity for over a decade, and some of the experience he has is really good. So this strikes me as a really good hire to kind of offset the Huff factor where we don't totally know what we're getting. So this one I'm pretty into. So Nugent spent the last 2 years with the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, that is not stellar, admittedly. The Chargers have been a disappointment over the last 2 years. Not necessarily all because of their offensive line. Brendan Nugent has done a good job developing a player like Jamari Seiler, I believe is how you pronounce it, Jamari Slayer. He's somebody who they had to thrust into the starting lineup there, and he's done fairly well. They've also kind of been let down by the performance of players like Zion Johnson, and Rashawn Slater is just a blue chipper, so I'm not going to act like Brendan Nugent showed up and whipped Rashawn Slater into some elite left tackle or anything like that. And Slater was there, I believe, before Nugent was. But the Jamari Slayer development has been pretty good, I guess. The 2022 Chargers offense and their offensive line just in general was pretty good. So they can hang their hat on that a little bit, I guess. But the really interesting stuff with Nugent's experience is before the Chargers, where he spent 7 seasons under Sean Payton in New Orleans. So he was initially an offensive assistant for 2 years, 2015-2016, assistant offensive line coach from 2017 to 2020, and then he was the full-on offensive line coach in 2021. So this guy's been a full offensive line coach for 3 seasons. So he's kind of taking a demotion coming to Seattle, which, I mean, maybe you could argue that he's been struggling a little bit in the role of being just the full-on offensive line coach, but as an assistant, there was a track record of great success. You think about New Orleans under Sean Payton from 2015 to 2021, they had a lot of really good offensive linemen. You had guys like Teron Armstead, you had guys like Ryan Ramczyk, you had guys like Cesar Ruiz, you had Eric McCoy was there for a little while. During that period of time, according to the Seahawks website, the New Orleans offensive line allowed only 131 sacks across the 5 years he was an offensive line coach in some capacity, which is the best in the league, like I said, and featured 10 different Pro Bowl selections. So the offensive line during this period of time in New Orleans was really good. And you've seen it deteriorate a little bit over the last couple of years. Now, some of the reasons why that is because they've lost Sean Payton, they're getting lesser quarterback play, but you definitely saw a positive impact on the part of Nugent when he was in New Orleans as the offensive line coach. So I think this is a really good hire. It's from a good tree, the Sean Payton coaching tree. He's not being asked to do something he's never done before. He's not being asked to take a big promotion and do something on a higher level than he's comfortable with. No, we're just asking him to do what he did in New Orleans for several years. So I feel good about that one. I know it's a minor hire in the grand scheme of things, but it's something that I think will help a lot when you have an offensive line coach like Scott Huff with no NFL experience. Before his stint in New Orleans, by the way, he was with the Bears as a quality control coach under Mark Trestman because he was on Trestman's staff in the CFL on the Alouettes in 2012. So not much to say there. The Bears under Trestman were maddeningly inconsistent. Not much positive to say there. Also not awful at the same time. So Nugent is a guy that I'm actually pretty excited to get now that I look into the past here. And again, it's all about contrasts. You have a coach with a lack of experience. You want to give him somebody to work with that has experience to kind of help provide a stabilizing force. And that seems to be what we've done here with Nugent. So I'm going to make another video in a couple hours and upload that one on some of these other hires because as you can see, you look at this list, it goes on and on and on, and there are a few guys that we haven't discussed yet, guys that we didn't know about until basically just now. So I'll be seeing you guys later. Go Hawks, more videos soon.